Hey everybody, ReefGrrl here, and welcome to ReefGrrl Live. I am so happy you could make it. The whole idea here is to have some fun, chat, get some questions answered, maybe show off what you're doing, and get to know each other a little bit better. So sit back, relax, grab a drink. The stream is about to begin. Well, hello. It's another Saturday night, and here we are. Welcome, everybody. And if you're watching the replay, welcome to you too. I'm going to say hi to everyone. I do have a couple of guests, I think, coming in tonight. They expressed interest, so we'll see what happens. I have a few things to show you of a little bit of progress with the tank. Not much, but a little. So let's say hi. Who have we got here? We have Broke Reef Man 45. He was first. He was here quite a while ago. So welcome, Broke Reef Man. Chili Wells Reef. Hello. Chi-Town Reefer. Hey, Chi-Town. Hi, Benny's Aquarium. There's Diacanthus Reef. Yep, T-minus 10 seconds. That's great. Brian Edding. I'm going to pronounce your name Edding. Is that right? Hey, Meldium. Wow, nice to see you, Meldium. I hope you're doing well. It's been a minute since we've seen you. There's Carlos 23, my favorite Carlos. Awesome. Hi, Pappy Reefer. And we have Fletcher Wright. Hello. Chase V Reefing is here. Hey, Chase. Ugly Man's Reefing. Hello. DMV Silverback G. All right. We're up to 15 people already. That's pretty awesome. Oh, and there is Drama D, Brian Edding. Okay, awesome. I grew up in a sort of Mennonite, Pennsylvania Dutch area of Southern Ontario, and I understand how all of these OE names are pronounced and EU names and that sort of thing. Cool. All right. So welcome, everybody. Thanks for being here right off the bat. That's awesome. I hope you can hear me okay. I got a new microphone and sort of an arm thing so that it is not resting on the desk. When I listened to last week's replay, I was pretty appalled at how much noise is going on here with the keyboard and the mouse, and things were very echoey. So I've done what I can to minimize the bouncing of sound around in this empty room. So hopefully it's better. Please let me know if you can't hear me, if the volume is too low, or maybe if it's if the echo is making it hard to understand what I'm saying. I can slow down. I can try and slow down. So yeah. Okay. Thank you for that. Derek H. Hey, how are you doing? Sound is good. Okay. That's awesome. Thanks, Broke Reef Man, for letting me know that. Okay. So I think we should start with, until we get a guest in here, I think we can start with the big build update, which is that the rest of my sump came in this week, and we picked it up yesterday and brought the pieces home. And I put together a quick video of that. It's under a minute, showing those things and the arrival here. So I'm going to show it to you guys right now. There's 19 people here. I might show it later on too if the numbers warrant, but here we go. The main part of my sump was delivered this week to the farm supply store. So we went and picked them up, and here we are at the car wash. They are pretty dirty, and my husband came up with the idea of bringing them here before we take them home. This is a great way to power wash this kind of thing, and it's amazing how clean they're getting. There are two 100-gallon tanks and one 150-gallon tank. So that's a total of 350 gallons, though I don't expect there will be that much water in these by the time we allow for water levels and bulkhead placement and equipment. Who knows what we'll end up with, but we got lots of space. This took 3 minutes total. And here they are at home, stacked up in the garage, drying. So that part of it is here. And tomorrow morning, I believe we're heading out to get concrete blocks. Probably have to make a couple of trips to get enough to create all the various levels of support that we need to put these tanks in place. The largest one is going to be up off the floor to a comfortable height for me to work in, because that's going to hold livestock until we get the tank, actually, the new tank. So I'm setting the sump up as a closed system and going to try and get it running for a little while to sort of kickstart a cycle. And as soon as I think it's ready, I'm going to move the contents of the reef again into that 150. So it'll be up off the floor. We're going to use cement blocks for that. And then the two 100s will be below that, also up off the floor slightly. And so we'll see how it goes. Then the shallow 50 that I showed you guys last week with my trash can overflow will be up higher than that yet. So we have a little bit of figuring out to do as to what the best levels are for working height, and also the water coming down from upstairs. You know, do I want it dropping 10 feet? I'm not sure. Don't know if that's a good thing or not. John, Blue Carbon Reefing, could probably tell me that. Okay, we got more people. Alex G's Aquarium. Hey, Alex, look at you. You're here. It'd be interesting to hear how things went with your move, with getting things set up at the new place. And, oh, hey, Meldium. Yep, just peeking in, working at the moment. Miss all of you. We miss you, too. There's so many things that have gone on this year. So many things to miss. Hey, Marcus's Reef. James B. Well done. Well, you know, we were talking about the 100-gallon container we've set up for the RODI water, and he was talking about cleaning it out, because we did buy it out of the yard at the store, at the farm supply store. I'm just checking email to see if anybody's looking for a link, and we don't know. We don't know. It could be very dirty inside or not. We're not really sure. So he suggested taking it to the car wash, because we did have a power washer, but apparently the first year we had it, it froze and some fittings burst inside, because who knew, right? That's how you learn. So yeah, that worked out very, very well. And so once we get the concrete blocks and they're all inside and downstairs, then we will be wrestling those things down the stairs into the basement and just see what we can come up with. Awesome. Oh, awesome, Alex. Be interested to see what's going on with you. Hey, T40. How's everything? Are you getting everything in order? Well, slowly but surely. I don't know if you saw the video of the sump going into my garage and being stacked up, or there in my garage, but all of the stuff to the right of that is stuff we have that we haven't brought into the house, open boxes or whatever, that was in a storage unit. So we still have, I don't know, maybe 5 or 6 major boxes on the main floor of the house to open and put away. I have a ton of boxes downstairs in the fish room area, and I have a couple of empty cabinets, and I just need to go through box at a time, open the stuff up, figure out if I need to keep it, and then put it away somewhere. Because we can't really do anything in that area until the boxes are gone. Oh, excuse me. Okay, I think I've recovered. Fletcher right. Hello, reefing. Yes. Okay. So I'm not sure what else to tell you other than maybe the temporary reef is doing extremely well. And there are a lot of corals that are starting to fight with each other. I have a Pectinia frag from the original colony that has tentacles that are about 6 inches long, and they've really damaged the lower edge of a chalice that's on the rocks above it. But I don't have anywhere else to put it. So I keep trying to move it away from the rock a little further, and the green wrasse keeps flipping it, and it ends up back against the rocks. So there's some fighting going on in there. Other than that, things are growing. And I was trying originally to control the growth by reducing the doses of trace elements and aminos and grow stuff, the droplets, the coral essentials. I've reduced that to 3 days a week from every day. And I really hate to think, don't hate, I really would wonder what things would look like if I had kept up that regimen of dosing. I probably have to do more frequent water changes because that was the other consideration. I didn't want to foul the water with too much in the way of nutrients. And yeah, it's surprising how well that thing is doing. And I was looking at Mollywood today, and I have 2 scolimia in there, 1 cinerina, 1 acanthophilia, and a symphilia in there. So the LPS corals, and they are doing amazingly well. I put them in there because they were getting beat up in the big tank, and I hoped they would survive. But they're not only surviving, they are growing. So it's all good so far, and I just keep my fingers crossed, wait for the other shoe to drop, try to stay on top of the water parameters, and see if I can get things through until it comes time to move them here. So that'll be the next major stage, is getting those tanks set up with water cycled and get that running so I have somewhere to bring all of that stuff. Oh, hey, Chimp the Reefer, welcome. ATF in the house, yes. Pectinia is a chalice, definitely. We should keep track and log and track battles. Well, I've thought of setting up someone, I don't know if it was someone here last week, suggested a channel just for Coral Wars. So maybe that's an idea. Call the channel Coral Wars and have nothing but videos of corals attacking each other. Or set up battles between who will win between this coral and this coral. Make it like a round robin, like you used to have in racket sport tournaments. Okay. We got 33 people here. Wow. My phone just lit up. Let's see. Okay, nobody asking for a link yet. So, what else have I got to show you? Let's see if I have any more pictures here. Not really. Well, I mean, seeing as it's quiet, you guys have been so indulgent of me in the past. I'll give you this week's He's a Little Dickens picture of my grandson. Oh yeah, he's learning how to walk, everything. He's a pretty fun little guy.
Let's fish for Cheerios. Oh, wait a minute. Good job. Yeah, good job.
Oh, I'm sorry. I laugh every time I see that. The way his face changes when he gets the Cheerio in his mouth. He loves his food. So, yeah, he turned 11 months old a couple days ago. So we're looking forward to his first birthday. My prediction is he would be running around by Christmas, and he's already insisting on walking everywhere. He won't crawl anymore. And man, oh man, this has got to be boring for a lot of you. Sorry about that. All right, who else is here? Blue Carbon Reefing. Hey, John. Welcome. Yeah, he is, but I mean, I'm supposed to say that, but I really think it's true. So, never mind. Oh, Alex has a question. First, I will greet Queen City Reefs and More. Hello, Queen City Reefs and More. How's the new build coming along? I'll give you guys a bit of an update on some tank plans and things like that too. What is my dream fish in the new aquarium? I have to think about that. I think my dream fish is actually fishes. I would love a group of 3 to 5 pyramid butterfly fish, and that's that's a fish I absolutely love. It looks beautiful in a group. Um, I'd love to have a queen angel or a regal angel. However, I also want my large, soft-bodied, soft LPS corals, the huge cinerinas, and I have 3 of those now, and scholemias and things like that. And I wouldn't trust an angelfish of that type with those things. If I could get another pair of the Genicanthus angels that I had that I lost, I would do that. I might consider getting 3 females and seeing what plays out, seeing if I get a male out of the group. So, yeah, but pyramid butterfly is a fish that I would love to have. They're quite readily available. They're not that expensive, and they are relatively easy to keep. So we'll see. I'd also love to get a humma humma triggerfish. However, there's another fish that's borderline reef safe. I'm not sure I would take the chance. So, because I also like shrimp and things like that. And I have Stanley, the Crocea clam. I want him to live a good long life, and I don't want him to be picked at by one of those types of fish. I'd also love a harlequin tusk fish, but being a wrasse, we all know what they can be like. And, you know, it's probably one that I would never be able to have unless I have a fish-only tank. So there's lots of different ones that are very, very tempting. Thanks for the question. That was a really good one. Egg Boy 64. Always wanted pectinia, but not if they're going to have 6-inch feeders. See, this is the thing. This is where we come back to the early days where the most exotic coral you could get when I started was a Galaxia. And those things have massive sweepers as well. And because so many people start into the hobby with nano tanks, they get these types of corals, and it's a bad decision, but they don't know that because they're like I was. You're just taking it all in. And it's not as hard now to find information as it was when I started, but you still need to know the right questions to ask and the right considerations to make, because those types of things, for example, the pectinia, you'll read that it says, allow 4 to 6 inches of space all around it. Well, I would say you'd need more, because you just don't know. There's always that one long tentacle that comes out and fastens onto something and starts to sting it. So they're definitely a better coral for larger tanks. And then when they start to grow, the whole thing multiplies. That colony that I had, the only thing that stopped it from killing everything above it was the flow, because those tentacles couldn't go against that flow that was coming across the top and down the front. So everything above it, which is basically what you see behind me, was safe from those tentacles for that reason. All right. Next reefer right there. Yeah. Oh, yeah. The little guy loves looking at the tanks and the fish. I personally think it's the colors and the blue light that attract his attention. But he sees the fish. He puts his hand out when when the mollies come up to the glass. Oh, pyramid butterflies. Yeah. 3 to 5. I'm not sure yet how many would be a good number to get of one fish. I mean, I am limited to size. 5 by 5.5 feet is a large space, but with rocks and everything else, you have to allow for swimming room, and I don't know how many I could get away with. Who else is here? Whoa, Taryn's Little Ocean. Hey, Taryn, welcome. Nice to see you. And Reef Keeper is here. Hey, Phil. Oh boy, you have news. Wow, that is amazing. I don't know if you saw my response to your Instagram post, but 96 by 24 by 32, if I remember. around 300 and I want to say 30 to 40, something like that. Yikes. That's really awesome. You know, you started your 525XL the same time I started my 425XL, so I guess we'll have to sort of keep in touch and see how things go between the two of us over the next few years. Can't reach the bottom, so it's going to be interesting. Boards and laying on top. Yeah. Yeah, my husband suggested tonight that he should put some D-rings in the ceiling and create something so that I can be safe from falling in the tank when I'm leaning over it, because um, the design of the stand has changed a little bit since probably I told you guys about it. I've seen drawings now, and it is looking like I'm getting fold up or fold out steps. I don't know if they'll fold down or if they'll fold up. I'm not sure yet until I actually see the new drawings. And originally, he was going to make the first step 20 inches off the floor, which would put me way, way, way too high. So it's going to be around 14 inches off the floor, and that should be about right for me to be able to lean over. But there will still be a large area in the middle of the tank towards the back where I will not be able to reach the bottom. And that's why that's the area that I'm going to create a lot of little terraces and caves. And I hope that that will become fish habitat so that all the fish will be able to find a spot that can be theirs. And I'm hoping that will minimize aggression and help everyone get along. But we'll see. I'll just have to wait and see what I can come up with. Sorry, it's really dry in here now because the furnace is on. All right. Lots of work to do. Rip out carpet, tile, etc. Oh, yeah. Well, I'm sitting in a brand new house, and tonight we were looking at what tiles had to be removed. Sorry. What tiles have to be removed from the floor. Sorry. This happens to me sometimes when I'm driving, and that's why I always have water or something with me. Yeah, so we have to take a tile up, or maybe even two tiles along the wall, and that's where we will be drilling through for 5 pipes that will be going through that space, 3 overflows and 2 returns. So it's yeah, it kind of seems like a shame. Oh, nice. 450 gallons total, 340 main display. I mean, that'll be really nice. Holy smokes. Wow. Oh, cool. So it was a system that was running. That's great. So you know that everything's already set up the way it needs to be. Cool, cool, cool. Great. Oh. Hey, DC. Glad you're here tonight. Ugly sweater live stream next week. Oh, I'm not sure I have an ugly sweater, but it's not a bad idea. Maybe we could have people come on and demonstrate, or I suppose model their ugly sweaters. That's a good idea. Maybe I'll put that in the reminder video. See what I can find. I could probably find some sort of an ugly toque or hat, so that I could, put that on over top of here, because that's pretty much what you see. The rest is just black. Cool. Very good. 36 people now. So yes, the stand is going to be made in two halves. It's going to be split front to back. So from the front, you'll just see one face, but the first section will be 33 inches deep, and the second section will be 33 inches deep. So two separate pieces. Because it's 40 inches tall, originally I had thought I had asked for 42, but when I went back through the notes, I found that 42 is the height of the one in the fish store, and I had asked for 40. So 40 inches high by 60 inches would not fit through any door because, you have to turn it sideways, obviously. And so that's why they're going to split it into two 33-inch pieces because it's going to be 66 front to back. And I saw drawings of the tank, and I finally understand what is going to be done with the overflow to allow for notches to be cut to accommodate cords leaving the tank. Because of having a Euro brace, the Euro brace and the back pane of the glass, the back panel of the tank are glass. The weir teeth are an insert into that glass. And that's just like my Red Sea tank was like that. And I hadn't understood that. I wasn't sure. This is from coffee. I wasn't sure how they were going to set that up. So that's all good. I've got my concerns about cord management all taken care of. The cords for power heads, etc., will be able to get out of the tank without wrapping around a Euro brace. So it's going to be Eurobrace top and bottom, 5/8 inch glass. It's going to be regular glass. And yeah, it's pretty exciting. So once I see the drawings, again, finalized drawings with a couple of things that I'd asked about for the tank and the stand, then it goes ahead. It's about a 6-week build. So things will start to move really fast now that I have the stock tanks here for the sump. That was really what was holding me up for actually getting started here. Hey, Nat King Reef. Everything's perfect. Wow. Yeah. Oh, nice. Mr. DKH, welcome. Tiny New Clown and Godzilla Clown are getting along nicely. Yeah, I saw that. I think I saw that on Instagram. That's good. So I guess that proves that they need to be drastically different in size to avoid aggression. So cool. Okay. We're caught up again. So if anyone wants to come in and join me, that would be great. Then you guys won't have to sit and listen to me talk all night. I don't know if I have any more videos to show you. Let me just check. No, that's it. So we decided on which color of trash can overflow I'm going to have. And it's this one. It's going to be green because the yellow didn't really stand out against the colors of the wood and the insulation behind it. Kind of blended in a little bit. So I like this one because you can really see it. So yeah, trash can overflow. We have to figure out what the levels are going to be, what I'm going to put in there, how I'm going to arrange it. So there's a couple things to work out in that. So yeah, it's pretty fun. Oh, we've got 2 people coming in. All right, we have Alex G and Chase V. Nice, I'll bring you guys both in. Hi, Alex.
Hi.
And there's Chase. Hey, Chase. Nice to see you guys.
Hey, guys.
Hey, how's it going?
Good. So, Chase, you have the 250 on the go, and Alex, you have the big move on the go. Who wants to go first?
Now let Chase go first.
Oh, hey, Hector, Reef is here.
Me.
Right. So, Chase,
Let's see.
how's it going?
Pretty good. Tank's settling in nicely. Let me flip around for you guys. Sorry. Pardon me for a minute.
Oh, there we go. Wow, you've added a lot since the last time we saw you.
Yeah, I've transferred some stuff. So it's doing well, getting a little more of that brown kind of film going on the rocks. So it's actually a lot less than I expected. So I'm pretty happy.
Nice.
But yeah, just moved some acans over. Everything's growing, everything's out. Some leathers in the back. I have 5 SPS frags in here now. Or everything's doing good, so really happy about it.
Yeah, Phil says tank looks great. Love the aquascape.
Thanks, Phil. Yeah, I tried to leave it really open because I wanted to give the fish a lot of room. So it's not a lot of rock in there in total. I mean, there's probably 200 pounds, but
Yeah, that's kind of what happened to me with the Red Sea tank. I had a lot of biomedia because the actual live rock I had in there really wasn't that much. And the whole central section was that Texas Holy Rock, which has zero biological filtration capability. And I just wanted it for encrusting corals. And so I bet you I didn't even have 40 pounds of live rock in that tank. It was all biomedia.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, I have so much in the refugium area that I think it makes up for it, and that's like the old rock from all my old systems.
Nice. Taryn says she loves all the little islands.
Thanks, Sharon. Yeah, my idea there was just to kind of isolate different species or give stuff again a little more room.
Yeah. I love it when you can't see everything from one view, when you have to move around the tank to see everything there is. And I love hiding things that are only visible from certain viewpoints and things like that. It just makes it so much more interesting.
I'm really envying the fact that you get to look through your tank from the side. I'm stuck in top down mode for too long.
Yeah, I wish I had like a more of a peninsula view of it, but this was what I got to work with, so I'm working the two sides the best I can.
They're pretty good though, because the viewing pane on the side is still 36 inches, right? So that's as big as a lot of people's tanks.
Yep.
Those torches look really nice.
Yeah, they both kind of came back from the brink. You know, I've had a lot of trouble with some LPS. I mean, some have been really hardy for me, but a lot, you know, don't tolerate some swings or something I do with my system. I'm not sure. I haven't pinpointed it, but you know, you pay quite a bit of money for LPS these days, and then to see one kind of just brown jelly or whatever they do, it takes a toll. And the two you see up there, I mean, like I said, I got one as just a tiny little pinky finger thing from the store for like $30, and I've had it for several years, and it's just been through I don't know what, but now it's doing the best I've ever seen it in this tank, so I'm really happy about that.
Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, good night, Meldium. Thanks for coming by. It was really nice to see you.
Jeez, I really like the green Sinularias looking nice up there.
Thanks, man. Yeah, I don't know what I'm gonna do with it. It's getting massive. I guess I'll just let it keep growing.
Just give it a trim.
So what do? Do you just like cut the arm off, or just take a razor blade to it?
With those, Either one. I'll use coral cutters on them sometimes, and just
Okay.
uh, cut off some branches, and then with those, I find the easiest technique is get a little Tupperware bowl with some rubble rock, and just toss all the pieces in there, and put a little bit of like a mesh top on it, and rubber band it on, and put it in a low flow area, and then let
Okay.
it cook there for a couple of weeks, and the frags will attach themselves to rubble, and then you can glue those to plugs if you like.
So can you cut like the branches that are even like an inch or two thick? Can you cut that big of a branch off? Or will that be too
You
much?
can. I generally, like, if you're like just looking at the way that it's sitting right now, let's say that branch that you have all the way to the right, that big thick stalk at the bottom,
Uh-huh.
you should be able to cut that off if you want to. I just wouldn't, if you're going to do a major cut like that, I'd just do like one at a time of those.
Yeah. Yeah. Maybe run some carbon.
Yeah, and then, best thing to do is just let it heal up for a week or two, and it'll just fold over. That's part of the reason I always like to use I'll just use coral cutters, because it'll kind of pinch it off at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, that's a good idea.
But yeah, I never try to glue those frags. They just won't hold. The Just letting them attach themselves over a week or two is usually the best thing, and it's the least invasive and least amount of work that you have to do as a reef keeper to try and make them
Yeah, it
attach.
works with pulsing xenia too, to just throw them on a bed of really coarse
Yep.
sand, and then eventually they stick. And the coarse sand they stick to gives you something that you can glue on a rock or a frag plug, and then they'll grow from there.
Mm. Yeah, thanks for the advice. That's a good idea. I'll do that when I have the room for now, but that thing, man, it's just getting huge.
Now they're a really nice looking coral. I mean, I like the toadstools you got back there are looking nice too. So
Thanks. Yeah, I got these all from local reefers. They have like a frag swap here in I live in Albuquerque, New Mexico. Before COVID, we had a frag swap every 6 months at one of the local hotels, and all the kind of small and bigger time vendors come, and so yeah, I picked all those up at that kind of stuff.
well, if you like softies, another one I'd recommend. They're not the easiest thing to find, but stereonepthias. I think that's like my favorite soft coral.
So, Alex, how is your stereonepthia doing in your temporary setup? Did it come through very well?
My pink one's doing really good. The other one, the main colony kind of shrunk down and isn't doing quite as good as it
Right.
was. But there's still a couple of good frags of it that are sitting in there that look pretty happy.
Well, that's good. So,
So
hey, Chase, that flipper that you just moved across, I have one of those things. And how far from the glass is that hammer that you have it on? If
Uh,
that's a hammer.
yeah, I would say between a foot and a foot and a half.
Really? That far? Okay. Because I was using mine. I think the problem with mine is I was looking at things that were too close to the glass.
Yeah, it also depends on like the distance that the camera is from it outside the glass too, because there's like two focal points, I guess. I've
Right.
noticed. So it's kind of weird because my camera is probably 2.5 feet from the flipper,
Right.
but I don't know.
Cool. It looks good.
Yeah, it's a little hard to focus on things deeper in the tank. But the front half of the tank, like the front foot and a half, can see pretty good.
Right. Is that a molly going by?
Yeah, yeah.
I
I
know
got them
because
all
I
over the
have one of
place.
those. Yeah, I have one of those gray above, silver below. Um, they every generation seems to have one or two of those. So I don't know whether that's kind of a genetic throwback to them coming from the wild, whereas the ones, the Dalmatians and the silvers and all of that, the
Yeah,
oranges are so highly hybridized.
yeah. I had trouble with keeping the Dalmatian ones. Um, this guy's a lone ranger in this big tank. As far as mollies go, he was getting picked on by all the other ones. So
Yeah,
he's got
yeah,
he's got this tank, but he's pretty feisty little guy. They're not shy. At least mine aren't.
yeah. They will fight with each other, but they really do get beat up by other types of fish.
Yeah, I mean he's the first. I mean they're always in the water column, and you always see him like he's up first thing in the morning. Like if I put an algae clip in at like 6 a.m., he would be up and eating the algae clip for sure.
Yeah,
Because I've done it before, like leaving one before I leave for work.
yeah,
And it's funny though. I mean, the other guys will push him out of the way, but he always, you know, he's growing and making his way. So they're funny little fish.
yeah, yeah. They are always active and interactive. Oh, hey, producer Reef, welcome. And Diacanthus Reef is here. I don't know if I said hi to you yet. Oh,
I got that blue throat trigger 3 weeks ago probably. I named him Bob. He's doing really well.
oh, nice.
Yeah, he's a male. I guess the coloration on them is a little different if they're male and female.
Yeah,
Um, but he's been really cool. He's not shy either. He'll just come out and I mean, they always want food. They're pretty. They have a single track mind, but you know, the
yeah. One
tangs.
of the
The tangs will dive into the rocks right away, and he kind of just is like whatever.
yeah, one of the stores a couple of years ago. One of the reef stores around here had a male and female pair of crosshatch triggers, and those fish were beautiful. But I don't think they're very reef
Maybe.
safe. Sorry, what was that?
I think you could put crosshatches in reefs, but they're very pricey.
Okay.
What kind of pattern do they have?
It's like diagonal lines that are like it's I actually think it's the scale edges that are colored.
Hmm.
So it makes it look like a cross pattern, like a pattern of lines that go across. Am I right,
Nice.
Alex? Is it the scale coloration?
Yeah, I'll be honest. I don't think I've ever even seen one in person. Actually, I've only seen pictures of them.
Yeah, they get pretty big too.
They are they are very pricey
Oh
though.
yeah. Yeah, that's what you said, pricey. Yeah.
They're I'm trying to think the last time I saw one on like a live aquarium or something. I want to say it was like over
Yeah.
$700.
And I think to get a
Wow.
male female pair is just crazy. But I mean, even my Genacanthus angels that I lost, that pair was probably worth about $700 because you can't get a male and female pair. The males come in so rarely. The females come in all the time, but that's because of how they're collected, and they're all females when they hatch. So the males develop with interactions within groups of fish. So that's why I have to get three and hope that one of them becomes a male.
Yeah. So I was told that the blue throat is pretty reef safe. Do you guys have any? Should there be anything should be worried about in your guys' experience, or?
I've never kept one myself, but I know that they're probably one of the safest choices out there. It's like anything else. I mean, there's always a possibility they could go for some kind of crustacean, but they're being fed well. The challenge is that beyond just normal fish behavior, it's the personality of a fish. And sometimes you get fish that aren't supposed to do things, and they are doing things they're not supposed to be doing.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, it's
Anytime I've seen triggerfish in a reef, they're always blue throats.
Okay.
So that just seems to be what people choose. So, I mean, assuming they do their research. I also love
Yeah.
pink tail triggers. And that, I mean, if I had another dream fish, it would be a group of 3 pink tail triggers because those fish are gorgeous.
Wow.
But they are not as reef safe as a blue throat. And I don't know that I could keep any sort of crustacean or much of a cleanup crew. So it's one of those things, right?
Yeah. Yeah, he seems pretty
yeah, and
docile so far.
it's a
Sorry, Alex.
no, that's okay. That's the beauty of live streaming.
Cool. So, Alex, do you have anything you could show us tonight?
Oh, sure, why not? Let me
So, first of all,
change my
how did
tune.
it go?
Which part?
Well, from the moment you got the keys to your new house, how did things go? Because I know you were lined up and ready to go the minute you could get in there. Hey, Jason.
Well, the first day went pretty well, and we just got used to the house and went through the orientation and stuff. And Thursday with the actual moving truck showing up, that it went well, but not exactly to plan. They were supposed to have 2 trucks, and they did, except their second truck was a tiny truck, and they filled that really quickly. So we needed to get a third truck. And then my next day, which was Friday, was the tank move, and that was 12 hours of fun and adventure to move this thing.
I bet.
So the tank itself I had here before noon, but the problem is that a heater got broken during the move, which was the heater that sits in here. And I just had one other 500 watt without a thermostat handy, so I couldn't just toss that in and let it go.
Nope.
So I didn't have any water connections in the house, so I had to use the outside hose in the middle of December. Well, in December outside, luckily it wasn't too cold. So the water got a little cold. I think everybody got down to about 68 for an hour or two.
Wow.
So, but I started making water. I still haven't put my skimmer back in yet because I managed to break that too while I was moving it. So,
Oh, no.
but the fish have been doing well. The corals, some of them are, I had that alkalinity issue going, and everything should be balanced out now. So, despite some things not looking their best right now, some stuff's actually looking a little better. So, but I'm going to get the skimmer in this week. I mean, I basically kind of haphazardly threw everything in here because it got a little cloudy and didn't clear up for a couple of days. And then I just made up more water and added another like 30 gallons to this thing this week. So,
Alex, how many gallons is in there? Can you put in there?
I would say there's about 150 total. So there's probably about 100 in there right now.
Right.
So I got to rearrange it, but I've been kind of hesitant to bug anything because you could see there's my stereoneptia there, and that thing's actually jamming pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, you can't.
So what is that? Is that purple and pink or?
So it's actually hold on, 'cause there's a white light here. So it's actually just pink. It looks like
Wow.
it's as close as you can get to a non-photosynthetic coral, but still have a good color. So, and then there's a couple little frags of my yellow one in there too. So it's
Nice.
still going along, and some of the LPSs now, a couple of the frog spawns aren't looking their happiest. I got to rearrange, and I've just been hesitant to go messing with stuff. The pounce mushroom's still looking happy though.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
I
how a
found
transfer goes.
Yeah. And I found
Yeah,
over the years that the soft corals, the branchy ones, sometimes they take a heck of a long time to settle down and start growing. And then once they're happy, they just take off.
yep.
Yeah.
Oh, and that's kind of how this one's been. It's been a little suppressed, but it's been growing a bit. And
Yeah.
my frogs or my big toadstool here, it's been self-fragging itself since the start of the move. So
Oh, look at
Yeah.
that.
That's what
it's not
happened to my neon green toadstool. It just fell apart. And I got a lot of frags from it, but it ended up just looking awful.
Yeah, it's just been doing that since I moved, and then the bubble coral's closed up now. There's one section of it that, kind of on the backside when I originally moved, that got a little exposed to air, and that section hasn't been doing well. But
Mhm.
I mean, that was a really. I had to put this thing in a 12-gallon tote by itself, and the first time I went to get it out of the tank, I was by myself, and it was not a pleasant experience to lift out a 10-gallon tote leaning over this tank. So,
Wow.
Yeah. No kidding.
but I got lucky. I had my buddy showed up with his trailer, and we were able to. I think I started at 5 a.m. and by 8 a.m. he pulled up with a trailer, and I had this whole thing completely disassembled. In 3 sections. The pond liner was out. Everything was in buckets or totes, and we loaded up and went. So, but
Yeah, it
Nice.
is not easy. It's one of those things, it doesn't matter how much you plan ahead.
and then, well, here's my basement and the
Love.
live stream of the live stream there. Um, so
Oh,
this is
Nice.
all basement here, and then there's the temp tank there, and then well, this is my sister's old tank she gave me. This will become my arrival center for new fish when I get them in.
ah, that's a good
So
idea.
yeah, and I'm not gonna call it quarantine. I don't like that word anymore.
Observation. It's the
It's
observation.
the
Yeah,
Arrival center.
it's
That's
the
awesome.
arrival center now. So
the
the
isolation.
the new displays will go someplace in here. So use your imagination.
Yeah, and
Um,
then do you have your fish room set aside already? So are these doors? Oh, we have those doorknobs in our
so
house.
it's a little bit messy back here right now. Here's the old fronts to the 720 and the 480.
Wow. Are you going to use those? Like,
I
for
need to,
anything?
yeah. Uh, the 480 glass is going to become the glass for my frag tank, which will be back here.
Right.
And the 720 I want to use back here. I'm still not sure exactly the dimensions. But this will be probably for my refugium.
Okay.
Nice.
So it might be / research tank too. I'm gonna see once I can get it running. But yeah, I have to cut the glass off of here, which will not be fun because I realized the RTV that I used is a lot stronger than I thought it was. So
I remember
Wow.
when you were cutting that apart. The I think you thought you could salvage more, but the stuff kind of confounded that plan.
Well, I was actually like I had planned to kind of do this because for moving this in and out of the house, it basically took the worry away from the movers that they like shatter the glass by whacking a corner or something.
Hmm.
So that was nice.
That's true.
But to remove this, like this section is in a place, I'll have to feed a needle or a razor through this with some almost like some real high strength fishing line and see if I can cut through this. I tried that with some angled planes and it snapped the line every time and it also snapped stainless steel wire. But I think if it's just a straight shot, I should be able to do it. But I got to cut the whole edge off all the way.
Is there such a thing as a diamond coated wire that might get used in some types of saws? I'm thinking of dental tools.
Yeah, there's other things because it just comes down to some friction.
Yeah.
And it'll cut through it. The problem is that I tried it on the cross braces and it was trying to go around two 90-degree bends and a flat surface and it was just too much.
Mm.
So, but I should be able to get something through here and feed through and then free the glass off. That'll be a project though.
Mm-hmm.
But first things first, I'm gonna epoxy paint my floor in here. So I did set up my RO unit and get myself some water, so I have that again.
Right. So do you have to let your concrete cure for any length of time before you put down the epoxy?
Well, per the epoxy stuff, it's just got to be the concrete's only got to be laid for at least 28 days. I got to do a little more reading, but
right.
This basement floor has been here for months now,
right?
So it shouldn't be a problem. And then, but I managed to I tapped into my water line, so I have my RO line in, and then I'm gonna put a utility sink over here somewhere. Not sure where yet. And then
nice.
I for anybody that appreciates some fun plumbing artistry, I tapped into my main drain line for the RO waste, and then
perfect.
That'll be my future pump out for water changes right there.
Awesome.
So,
wow.
And it's not glued in. I pulled off a service cap so it can be removed.
Right.
So it's not quite at the right angle, but I could fix that. That's not a problem. So, but yeah,
it's a luxury, man. That's awesome.
Yeah, that's gonna be that'll be my pump out, and then that little sub panel right there off to the right is gonna be everything for the aquarium. So I got a 60 amp panel installed for just aquarium.
Right.
So
that's perfect.
Oh, hi, Johnny Martinez. Johnny Martinez is here. Sorry, Alec.
No, you're all right.
Chase, he liked the magnifying glass, was thinking of getting one for sure now. And yes, thanks, Johnny. Things are going well.
Black Friday, baby.
Yeah. Phil says, wow, I thought I had work to do. Alex has next level work.
Yeah. Hey, I got my one Black Friday thing right here.
Oh, that's right. Very good.
We'll see. I'll have to crack that thing open here at some point, but yeah, there's a little bit of work to do in here.
I know the feeling.
The fun part's gonna be moisture proofing this place for when I get ready to start putting the fish room tanks back here.
Right. You got to dexterize it.
Yeah, I'm going to plastify the ceiling again. That was a very effective thing, and I still don't know how I'm going to segment things off because, like, I have to protect the electrical panel a little bit more, or just not have anything near that.
Yeah.
So there won't be anything in here. I just haven't decided if I'm gonna need to wall things off,
Yeah.
or I know I'm gonna buy a whole house dehumidifier,
Mm-hmm.
and that's what I'm gonna use to control my humidity for the displays and the fish room.
Yeah.
So,
Oh,
but
hey,
I might
Tyler.
just
Yeah. Well, we had to have them move our electrical panel. I can't remember if I told you guys, because originally the normal location is under the front corner of the house, and that was right below where the tank was going to be, because that room is a bedroom, but we're using it for the fish room. And the builder was very reluctant to move it and kind of pushed back a little bit. And we just said, well, but we're going to have 300 gallons of salt water above there. If anything happens, it's just going to fry the whole thing. And it was like, oh, okay. I don't think they realized how big the aquarium was going to be when we first said we wanted to put an aquarium in. And then once they did all the engineering to do the reinforcements and everything, they started getting a better sense of why it was a good idea to move the panel. So it's about, I don't know, probably 12, 13 feet away. And I have a feeling there will be a wall that is going to go up beside my sump area, just to protect everything over that's stored over there from the salt spray, like the salt creep.
Yeah, and that's what I haven't figured out, is how I'm gonna do that part, because I know if I go with a whole house dehumidifier just for this, it's gonna be ducted. So I know I'm gonna pull water or pull air out of the aquarium canopy, like for the
Mhm.
displays, and I'm gonna
Yep.
suck that air into this room through the dehumidifier.
Yeah.
So it'll negative pressure that aquarium canopy, so it'll pull in air from the basement. But I'm going to be very interested to see too, once I get more stuff running, is what the pH of everything runs at, because this house was designed that it changes out the air in the house
Yeah.
pretty frequently. It's not an airtight house.
Yeah,
So
ours is like that too. It's an HRV that we have, and it comes on so many minutes every hour and pulls air in from outside and pumps it through the whole house.
yeah, they do
Nice.
that with a vent fan in one of our bathrooms, that it automatically comes on and does that. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, I got to work around my furnace and my hot water tank too. But I'm thinking that the dehumidifier is going to have a nice place right around here somewhere. So,
Oh, hi, Twins Reef. Nice to see you. Yeah, it's almost overwhelming, and I remember packing everything up was really a big job for me, and I did it in stages. So that's what I'm trying to do now, is unpack things in stages, because I just look at it and I don't even know where to start. But I emptied probably 30 containers between cardboard boxes and totes of yarn, which is my other hobby, and got that all put away. So it felt good to do that, and now it's got me really encouraged to get going on the fish room stuff.
yeah, it's I'm just waiting. I really want to get my floor painted in here. So,
Yeah. So are you going to build, are you going to have somebody come in and paint one of those things that looks like an optical illusion, like a giant hole in the floor or something like that? That'd be kind of cool.
no, I don't. Yeah, I might do
Not your
something
style.
else. I would, but that's all I need, is for somebody to like be wowed at aquariums and then see that and fall in my basement. And then they're like, "You're gonna have to give me a lot of coral so I don't sue you."
Yeah.
So
Johnny Martinez says, Alex G, love the room you have in your basement. Only thing I was seeing in your plumbing, if you have a septic tank or sewer, the salt water could cause you problems with your city or septic tank.
Well, so there is one thing because I do have an extractor pit here for the basement bathroom. So that's why I hooked up into the regular city drain system because we're on a city system and not a septic system.
Right.
So,
So
but yeah, I did.
by extractor pit, do you mean a sump pit, like a sump pump? Is that what? That's
It
not what
is,
that
but
is.
it's for the bathroom drains and the
Oh,
shower
okay.
drain.
Right.
So that I do not want to run salt water through because I know that'll totally hose that pump. So that's why it's going to go into the cities just as on a regular drain.
So it's a
So
drain as opposed to a pump.
yeah, this'll just because this is my main waste or main sewer line going out of the houses is over here.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, interesting, because ours are all below the foundation, buried underground, and yours are all look like they're above ground.
yeah, it's definitely different than what I'm used to, and I'm sure it has something to do with their design and just allowing gravity to take over and everything.
Right.
So, but in a way, it's nice though because it limits, if there is a problem,
Yeah.
the main line is all here. I just need to make sure because I will have a utility sink that's going to dump into this ultimately. That I'm going to add an extra. I might just build a trap for it so that if like sand or anything like gets down the sink, it doesn't accidentally make it all the way into the pump.
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but yeah, that's get the floor painted. That's my next job, and then I'm gonna figure out my layout. I'm thinking that I'm gonna put my skimmer probably over here, with my 265 gallon sump, and
Mhm.
then I'm gonna build another sump tank to be over here. So I'm not sure how big, and then maybe a frag tank there, maybe refugium over there or over here. I don't know. This whole place is going to be like a giant aquarium.
That's cool.
Yeah.
So, and then
It's
I
good to
need
have
to.
everything separate though, like that, because then you can just you can optimize its performance. So that's ideal.
Well, and that's the hope is that what I want to do is build this room out and get it running. At least if I can I really want to get like the 480 gallon running again because if I get that going and the sump tank with the skimmer, I could tear down the temporary tank and move the animals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then once they're on that, I could keep building this room out to where I need it to be. And once I have the fish room done, then I'm going to build my displays.
Yeah.
So
I think that's smart.
Yeah, that's kind of what I was thinking with getting the stock tanks all set up in a closed system, just using one of the DCS 7000s that I have to circulate it all. And at least if I can get that pumping water into the overflow and then flowing down, like through the whole system, and have it all running when the tank comes, then all I need to do is get it ready, get water in it, salt water, and then hook the two together. So, I mean,
Yeah.
will it be that simple? Probably not, but
yeah, but no, it should be good. And then, like I said, I'll have my little starter tank here, and then we'll put furniture down here, and then be able to sit and enjoy the tank.
yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, my wife asked me how many gallons is this whole thing gonna be, and I just said I don't know yet. And I'll say the same thing on here. I don't know yet. You use your imagination.
Yeah. Well, we know what you had last time. So I'm kind of wondering, because those two tanks, I mean, your fish only tank is fish only, so that's one thing. But your reef tank, it grew out and filled in pretty quickly, like over the course of about 2 years, right?
Yeah,
So
and
you got to give
considering I have
yourself
a
more.
coral crash in there too.
Yeah, exactly. So you got to give yourself more space than that. So I don't know. I have my guesses. I can't remember whether you said you were going to have a separate fish only tank this time or not, though.
They will be. There will be a separate fish only area, but it will all be enclosed within one tank.
Oh, right.
There will be a
Twin tank,
built-in divider.
right? That your Spanish hogfish can't get over.
You know, yeah, he's been happy. Yes, this is a basement.
Yes. Yeah.
So, yeah,
Nice.
he's been doing well. The clownfish have been doing well. I did have one surprise find, which probably won't see him until I move this again. Is my sister, when I had broken her tank down, one of the fish I got from her was a watchman goby, a yellow watchman goby, and I told her months ago, I was like, I don't think it made it because I haven't seen it. And when I
Yeah.
was tearing this tank down, I found it. So it was still doing good.
Well, I don't know if you remember Dave's nano tanks.
Mm-hmm.
He lost his Watchman Goby over the overflow. And so it was in the overflow of the tank he had. And I can't remember if this was the BioCube. This was before he had the 100, or was it the 100? I have to go back and look. But in any case, this Watchman Goby ended up in the overflow section. And he finally did get the fish out when he realized he was in there. And the fish, I don't think, ever turned yellow again, but it was still living, the last thing I knew. So it spent months just in the overflow and somehow survived.
Must have been getting a decent food supply.
Yeah. Oh, hey,
So
Chase. No worries. Thanks for stopping by. It's good to see the 250s coming along. That's awesome.
yeah, good seeing the tank, Chase. So, but yeah, well, things are coming together slowly. So,
And you know, the funny thing is, I was thinking that when all of this started, I figured I would have a tank by the end of the year. And now I'm thinking it's probably going to be, optimistically, it's going to be February. But the funny thing is, the time goes by and it's okay, because you can't be in a rush. It's got to be right. And if you move too quick and make an incorrect decision, you have to live with it for so long, because some of those decisions early on, they're not things that are easily changed. And my whole point is, like, the passage of time, it just goes by so fast. And I know that now it seems like February is a long time away, 2 months away, but it's going to go by so fast with all the other things that I have to do. And I remember when you were stapling that plastic on in your basement, I think was when I first came across your channel. And how long ago was that now? For like 4 years ago?
yeah, probably about that.
Because it took you, I think, 2 years just to get the tanks, to get water in the tanks.
Yeah, it was 2 years to build and about 3 years of operation before I tore it down.
Yeah. So, so really, when you think about this hobby, when you look at the big picture, it's really like the end result isn't really where you spend most of your time. It seems like with these big systems, building it is where you spend a lot of time.
Yeah, and I'm the one nice thing I do have though that'll be better with the build this time is that most of what I need to complete my fish room, I already have it.
Right. Yeah. You won't be
Outside of
creating noodle bills.
some plumbing and the goby's actually poking its head out where it was. Well, yeah, I could still kind of see it. But a lot of it to me is like I do not think I will have displays to a point. I might have construction started on them, but I don't think I will have display tanks in 2021.
Yeah.
I think that's going to be a 2022 thing.
Yeah.
So, but we'll see how far I can progress, because then again, sometimes when I really get going with stuff, I can get a lot done quickly when I got my mind set to it.
Yeah. Well, for me, it has to percolate, and I have to make sure before I start that I'm going to end up with a proper plan to accomplish what I want to accomplish. And that's the part for me that takes a long time. So yeah, it's, I don't
Yeah,
know.
I hear you there. My big challenge, I already know what I want to do for the displays, and I have such a vivid mental 3D image of it now. I don't have any issues with where I'm going with it. I have that pretty much set in my head. But my fish room is something that's still a little mysterious to me, because I go, this is a big room.
Yeah.
This is like 5 or 6 of my last fish room. And I know some things I want to do differently. It's just a matter of how I'm going to accomplish them.
Yeah. Yes, I
So,
always said that about when you get a larger house with huge rooms, sometimes, although it's nice to have more space, it can be harder to figure out how to set it up and how to avoid it having all kinds of empty, almost wasted space. It's not
yeah. Yeah, that I hear you on that, because like, well, I know I need to have a utility sink, which I'm kind of thinking over here. Because I already have the RO system there.
yeah.
But I'm kind of thinking the frag tank's gonna go there, because it seems to it'll be a big enough space to get in front and back of it, and I could keep it away from the electrical,
Yeah.
and I could keep it away from this wall, so I have access to plumbing.
Yeah.
So
Yeah,
it's
because I guess that's the other thing, because you don't have to conserve space by pushing everything against a wall. You can have
mm-hmm.
things out from the wall so that you can move around them. I mean, the plumbing has to come from somewhere, but there are ways to accomplish that, as you know, well, as you've done, so that you don't have to push everything against a wall, and it just makes it it gives you more flexibility with moving around and getting things organized and solving problems and getting in and out of the tanks. Yeah.
Yeah, that's one thing that I do know, is that the plumbing, well, there's no way around it. There's going to be a hole in this wall, probably in that bottom corner, that has a ventilation duct, electrical conduits, drain lines, and water supply lines.
Yeah.
So,
But you can put them all together.
yeah, I'll
So
make sure there's sufficient dividers in there, so we don't have
yeah.
seawater and electricity mixing. But
Yeah.
yeah, that's how things are going to get run. Is I'm going to go through there, I'm going to hug it on the floor, and then it's just a matter of how it's going to finally get laid out, and where I'm going to do, like, I'm kind of thinking I'm still going to keep my 200 gallons of water storage tanks, and then
Mhm.
I don't know if Blue Carbon Reefing's still on here, but I'm stealing his idea of a big water vat tank that I could do water changes with. And
Mhm.
instead of doing a separate water storage tank, just to store water, I'm gonna plumb in a big tank, and then when I need to do a water change, I could just pump that tank out and refill it.
Yeah.
And when it's ready, I could just put it back in line.
Yeah, that's what I'm planning with the second last 100-gallon sump tank, stock
You know,
tank, is going to be
it's
for
big.
water changes.
Yeah, it's things like my water entrance. I kind of look at it and I'm like, really? We had to like do this thing? We couldn't have made
Yeah.
it cleaner, but
Yeah,
oh well.
exactly.
Same thing with the plumbing. You know, it sticks out a little, but I mean, this space I'm standing in up to like this corner that's the size of my whole fish room basically in the last house.
Yeah. Oh,
So
Ugly Man is talking about having a yellow clown goby that was in an acro colony that he bought and even dipped. And he didn't realize the fish was there. And last week he put him in the sump in his new system. He got into the pump section and got sucked up through my vector. Oh no. I hope he survived. If he was really little, maybe he did. Oh, and
yeah,
Marcus's reef. Chase's tank is 250 gallons. That's his new display tank. And Sharbuckle is here in the chat. I did see you, Sean, a little earlier. You said hi. So, yeah.
I got to do a little cleaning in my skimmer.
Is this the one you made?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
Look,
I thought
it looks a little smaller when it's outside of the sump almost.
Well, it has nothing for scale, right? Other than well, I guess you could put the collection cup next to your
No.
head again.
There's a Diablo next to it.
Wow. So you broke your skimmer. How did that happen?
Oh, I did a rookie mistake. I left my 2 needle wheel pumps on here. So when I was going to I had just pulled the skimmer out and I was like, well, they're not going to really be taking any force. But when I loaded it in my buddy's trailer, I put a box or a tote on top of the skimmer, and I'm pretty sure that snapped off the acrylic here. So on the plus side, I have some Weld-On 3, and it was a very clean break. So I was able to just clean it off, and then I dribbled some glue on it and like set it right in, and it looks like it's all good. So
well,
I got lucky.
It's worth trying anyway.
Yeah, I'll try and get this thing hooked up again. I know I need to get this thing running again, but maybe tomorrow I'll get my hands in there and get that done.
Cool.
So
yeah, Ugly Man says the goby is not little, but it did survive and is doing great with not a mark on him. So he went right through a pump. Wow, that is good.
But yeah, so lots to do. Lots of time to do it though. I'm not looking forward to cutting the glass off. The last remnants of the old tanks.
Yeah, that's going to be a job.
Oh yeah. I think though we'll see once I get part of it done. I think it's going to go pretty quick.
Yeah, I have a feeling once you find the right method, then you can just go.
Yeah, I'm hoping that once I could feed something through, I'm going to try some like really high pound test fishing line that I got and see if I can run that through. And if I can, great. If not, the next thing will be I'll try some stainless steel wire again and see if that works. So
yeah, I'm trying to think of where I heard of diamond coated stainless steel wire, what it's for.
I'm sure they make it. They do all. There's all kinds of cutting wires out there too. So
yeah.
I just need to make the separation from the wood, and there's enough space in there that I know I could feed something through.
Yeah.
So I want to try and avoid scratching the glass up if I can.
Yeah.
So
How much of
But-
an overlap do you have on the glass? Like, what have you got to work with around the edges if you do scratch it?
oh, there's plenty, and since this is gonna get moved to frag tank, and hold on, let me grab a. I'd say it's about it's about 3 to 4 centimeters on the sides, and maybe a little bit more, maybe 5 or 6 on top.
That's
So-
pretty good.
Yeah, the bottom on the big one's gonna be more challenging because I butted PVC up against it. Um,
Hmm.
I'm really hoping that I could pry the PVC off of it. So, otherwise, cutting off this part is going to be hard because at least here I got a gap in the middle,
Yeah.
so I can go through wood and make that clear pane like here, and then the only thing I know I gotta look at, which shouldn't be a big deal, where'd it go? When I was cutting through it, I cut into the glass just a tiny bit with my saw. It didn't nick it, but I'll have to look at that real close and make sure there's no cracking or anything.
Mm-hmm.
But I don't think it's gonna make a difference because it's not tempered. So
You probably
but-
can buff it right out.
yeah, that's what I'm thinking. So I might get a little grinder and just flatten it out, and then make sure that there's nothing there with some sandpaper. So, but yeah, everything needs a deep clean. I mean, I got all kinds of feather duster worms and stuff in here. So I think once I get this going, I'll throw an old pump on, or an older pump on, and just dump a crap load of vinegar into these tanks and fill them up and just dissolve this stuff off and scrape it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Vinegar works good for that. Oh, hey, True Reef. Hi, Benji Tucker. Benji says, say hi to me. So there you go.
on the plus side, it all fit into the basement. So
Well, there is that. So, it's
I got a little concerned at first because I didn't think this tank was gonna make it, and I was measuring it, but I was measuring it wrong in the haste of the moving day, and I'm like, oh no, I'm like, what am I gonna do? I was like, I am not removing the door jamb of a brand new house, but then I realized I was not measuring correctly, so. The movers said, "Oh yeah, the last guys that move you nicknamed you the aquarium guy." And I was
oh,
like,
really? So
yeah.
you're a legend in the moving.
Apparently over there because they were between this and I probably have a stack of boxes of rocks and buckets of sand that take up about a 2-foot wide by about 10-foot long area in my garage right now. That's probably about 5 feet tall at least. So, yeah, my wife was asking why there are so many boxes of rocks in our garage right now. So,
Is it because she wants to put her car in there?
yes. So,
I only ask because I drive a Mini, and you know how small they are, and we still can't put my car in the garage.
I made a promise to my wife at this house that it will be clean and organized, and that I will clean up after myself after projects. So,
Yeah.
I just bought a second shelving unit today, and we got more organizing done. We're gonna do a lot of totes.
Yeah.
And then
Yep. They work great. Put labels on them. I mean, you probably will, but when we moved, I
Sharpies.
wrote labels for everything. But if you use a Sharpie and then you want to change what you use it for, then
That's
You gotta
true.
cross out the Sharpie. That I speak from experience. So yeah, it's crazy, really crazy.
Yeah,
But I'm glad.
it should turn out good though. So
Yeah, you'll probably change your mind several times as you go along once you get a better appreciation of the space. That's happened to me so many times. You think
well,
it's going to work one way, and then you realize all you got to do is make a little bit of a change to get a much better result.
that's just part of it too. Is like I want I want the frag tank to be something that I could still sit in front of and enjoy.
Mhm.
Same with the refugium. Uh, the 150, I'm gonna resurrect that, and I'm gonna probably turn that into a dedicated mantis tank.
Ah,
Probably gonna either I might do thirds or half, depending on the species of mantis that I can get. But that tank's deep enough, I can get a larger spearing mantis and still give him plenty of room to burrow.
mm-hmm.
So I'll probably look to do that. But yeah, a lot of this is just I kept the stands and
Mm-hmm.
a lot of the plywood, and I just got to um, get it organized and laid out, and then I could really see that space. Because until I lay out the stands, and I'm like, oh wow, that's what a 4x8 tank looks like here.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah. Oh, you just gave something away, didn't you?
no, because that's a sump tank.
Oh, okay.
Auxiliary tanks I could talk about because I'm pretty sure the 480 and 720 will be coming back as part of the filtration system.
Right.
So
Diacanthus Reef says embossing label makers. Yes, that's very true. As long as you can get the letters large enough that you don't have to be really close to see them. Yeah.
yeah, so it's a lot of work ahead of me, but I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah. Well, it has a purpose and it has an end result. And the more right decisions you make as you're going along, the better the end result. So that's what makes it such a challenge. That's what I love about it.
Oh yeah, no, I'm gonna have a lot of fun with the aquascaping, and you know, I'm gonna be smashing a lot of rocks. That's
Yeah.
I have so much, other than a few select pieces being kept intact. I'm gonna smash a lot of that stuff up.
And that's one reason I have to get through all my boxes because I know I have boxes of rocks of various sizes and I have to find them so that I can start. That was going to be sort of the dominoes of emptying all of my yarn out of those totes so that I could use those totes to put salt water in and start cooking rocks. So I got to find the rocks so that I can build the pieces that I want to build so I can start getting them ready to go. Oh, puppy. Okay, you said Piglet, but his real name is what?
Gizmo, what you doing?
Gizmo.
Come on down here.
How does
Oh no.
Gizmo like the new house? Is he used to it?
Oh yeah, he's liking it. Now I heard the other little one bark, so he's probably gonna come running down here now. So no, it's coming together. I mean, so the what? What do you want now? Oh, you want some pets? There you go. I know. You're a jealous boy of your brother. Go down and go lay in your bed. So yeah, I mean, I will say if I have to move again, I'd probably just have to suck it up and sell more stuff off. I got a little too ambitious with trying to take everything that I did.
Yeah.
But I guess, that's just what happens in this hobby sometimes. It's hard to let things go.
It is hard. And when you think of Well, for example, today I took a picture of a coral. It's a lobophilia. And when I bought it, I thought it was mislabeled because of the shape of it. I thought it was actually a button scolie. But as it started to grow, I realized no, it was labeled correctly. It was a lobophilia. And so I started looking back for pictures of the thing when I first got it. And it was the earliest picture I could find was November of 2017. And it was probably an inch across and perfectly round. And it looked so much like a button scolie. Um, but now it has multiple curves and folds, and it's probably about the size of an orange, maybe. So it has really grown in the 3 years. So when I first got it, I was kind of a little disappointed that it wasn't a button scolie, and I just thought, no, I'm just going to keep it and see what happens. But now I look at it and I think, wow, like, and the colors on it, it's got blues and greens and yellows. And it started out being kind of a dull brown with orange and a little bit of sort of a pink color in the middle. So it's completely shifted the color spectrum. And so that's what happens. You get these things and you grow them out, and all of a sudden you get attached to them as you watch them grow. And it's hard, and even the decision that I made to move my entire reef. I didn't, the only thing I sold was frags and my giant Montipora colony because I had no way to house it. It was just too big. It was 9 by 12 inches. I was going through the footage of the for the moving the reef video, and I finally got the editing done, and I've started the voiceover. It's going to be, I have to do more editing. It's over 25 minutes long. It's just too long. But going through all that footage, I realized the only thing I really got rid of was frags and that Monty. I kept everything else. So it was really a big chance to take to move it all. So that's why whatever's left is doing well. I've lost one or two things, but I guess I got lucky. And I had the luxury of time because the tank was cycling. It was set up in November. I started cycling it in January, and I didn't move anything into it until early April. So that's the holding tank. So I had lots of time to get it ready, and I could stage everything. I didn't have to do it all in one day. So I think
Yeah,
that makes sense too.
yeah, it would have been that's one thing I wish I had more time to do moving and stuff. That would have helped a lot. But you got to take what you can get, I guess. So, but
Yep,
I
and
guess
learn from it, right?
mhm. On the positive side of things, that there's nothing that I have that isn't. Pretty much all the corals I have are being aquacultured, maricultured, or tank
Yeah,
raised in some way, shape, or form now. So
yeah.
I don't I can get replacements of them.
Hmm.
So
Yeah, my big solitary polyp corals, those are the ones that I just I'm desperate to keep them alive until I get them moved over. But some of them are doing better than others, but none of them are shrinking up and dying. So it's a good thing.
yeah, I don't. As much as I like a lot of those, that's the only hard part with some of them. Like that,
Hmm.
you know, that once they start to go, it's sometimes it's like, oh, there's nothing I can do about it.
Yeah.
So,
And even when
but
you try to save them and it looks like you're being successful, it's like they're on a knife edge. And all
yeah,
it takes is one flip over by the green wrasse, and it's too much for them. Yeah.
yeah, I'm gonna see definitely in the next displays. I'm gonna do some things differently, and I think having the large frag tank from the start, that's gonna be probably one of the things I'm gonna try and stick to a little more is when I get something, it's gonna go in the frag tank and I'm gonna grow it out in there for a while first.
Right.
And then when I could make frags of it in there and get those growing onto something, then I'll move them into the display.
Yeah.
So I don't know if I'll be able to hold to my practice for doing it for very long, but I'm going to at least try it. So
Yeah, I had thought when I set up the Red Sea tank that I would set up a coral quarantine tank. That was my plan. And I was going to use the closet in the fish room I had at the time to do that because it was a perfect space for that. But I ended up having to move cat litter boxes into that closet. Not ideal, cat litter boxes in your fish room. But the closet had doors on it, so I was able to keep them mostly closed. And I hung a piece, like a clear vinyl tablecloth, from the inside of the door frame down so that the cats had room to go underneath it to just to keep the dust contained somewhat. And yeah, so I never ever did have space to set up a coral quarantine tank. And I haven't really thought about it for this new setup. Although I will have Mollywood, the contents of Mollywood will mostly be going into the new tank. There's a few things I will not keep, like the green hairy mushrooms. I might keep them in the downstairs setup, whatever I have. Whether I keep something in the 150 or whether I move things upstream to the shallow 50 that's going to be part of the trash can overflow. Not sure yet, but I don't know. I'm still thinking maybe Mollywood might make a good coral quarantine once it's emptied out. So we'll see.
man, I've thought of, I don't know if I'll maybe the 90 I use for fish coming in, maybe I'll put some coral and that is kind of a quarantine too.
Oh yeah.
But before I started tearing everything down, with the last system, I had gotten to the point where I was taking the microscope out and I was inspecting every frag that I got with a microscope.
Yeah.
And I did have a couple that had some suspicious looking eggs and stuff on them where I'm like, I don't know what that is. I'm
Mhm.
got the dental tool out and started picking them off and rinsing and then re-inspecting and like, okay, they're gone. I'm good with this now.
Yeah. And if you
So
had a coral quarantine tank, you could undertake the same process, but instead of it going into your display after that, you could put it in the quarantine to see what would
yeah.
develop. Yeah, it's there's an advantage to doing that. There really is.
Yeah, the
Well,
only
hey,
drawback is it's another system to take care of.
it's true. Yeah. But in the case of Mollywood, it's an innovative Marine 40. And honestly, that thing comes as close to plug and play as you can get. And I find it takes so little maintenance. The only thing is the pump that they supply with it isn't. I've seen where they've burned out and where the electrical connection underneath has caused problems and things like that. So right now I have one of the Jabo really small ones. It's I think a 1500, really small. And I don't think it's powerful enough because the flow that comes out the nozzles really isn't all that great. It moves the water, but I think it could be better. But aside from that, I'm amazed. The water quality is good. It just seems to run itself. So I'm thinking, it's basic, it's simple. There's no sump to worry about. You just keep the water clean, get a good light, and it could be a really good coral quarantine tank. So I don't know. Maybe you talked me into it.
Yeah, I think if I do anything, it'll be my 90 because that I'll have to keep up. But I'm hoping that shouldn't be too bad because again, I'm probably gonna take it and I'll make a pump out line for it, and then I'll make a pump in line because I'll probably just if I want to do a water change on it, I'll probably just pump water out of it
Hmm.
and drain it out, and then pump water from the system back into it.
Yeah. And I
So
guess that's another advantage to having multiple thousands of gallons of water. You can take 30, 40 gallons here or there without much of an impact on the system.
yeah, and I could keep it as a ideally, you know, doing a monthly water change. If I'm doing that on the big system, I could just divert some of the water from the drain line to
Yeah, yeah,
to that
exactly.
tank. So it shouldn't be too bad with a couple of pumps and the right plumbing. So,
Yeah.
but we'll see what happens. Um I got a ways to go before I'm at that stage because I think even when I get my frag tank up and running, I'm not sure how much I'm gonna really do as far as like buying new coral or any fish right away. I,
Hmm.
I might get I might get a few, but I think it's more gonna be about uh instead of worrying about fish or corals or anything, it's just gonna be about keeping everybody in there happy. Maybe I'll get a few things to just help with algae cleanup. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's more or less going to be try to get everything up and running the way I want, and then start focusing on the main displays.
Yeah.
So,
And it's one of those things too. I'm sure technology will evolve. Your sort of goals, project goals, and everything will evolve as you go through. And yeah,
yeah.
I don't want my system to take a year to build. I mean, I guess I'm not getting any younger, but I really think setting up the stock tanks as a running system is going to help with the whole process. So we'll see, I guess. Tony Close, thanks for coming by. Sparky B is here. Yeah, so many unknowns at this point, and it's because I have no experience. We're talking about lighting and how to mount lighting, and looking at different things like how long the cords are before
Mm-hmm.
they reach the driver, and then how long the cord is from the driver to the power supply on the Orifex anyway. Is that how they're done? Or does it come out the other end? I can't remember. But the the problem being that the front bar light is going to be probably almost 8 feet away from the back wall. So I know the cord's not 8 feet long before it changes to something else.
Yeah.
So, and you have to manage all of that so that you can put the power supplies and the drivers or whatever, if they're combined, in the right place. So they're not going to be too close to the tank and risk getting salt creep on them. So there's issues like that to think about too, with especially setting up as a peninsula style. There's going to
Well,
be
something with that too. You could always ask is, um, you could directly ping the manufacturer of whatever lights you're gonna get,
yeah
and ask them if they could make them with longer cords for you. If they
yeah
do
or
one of them or something.
make an extension insert, like an adapter insert to lengthen the cord. A lot of people don't know, but Jabo pumps, they have available a 6 foot extender for their controllers, and
Okay.
we use those. We had an electrician splice in, I think, 30 feet of the low voltage cord, the proper cable, between the two ends so that we could have the pumps in the basement. This is the Red Sea system, and have the controllers upstairs. And so these cables came up from the pump along like through the floor, along the wall, and into the cabinet where the controller was. And a lot of people didn't realize that those things are just readily available from Jabo. So even if your pump was going to be just a little farther away than the cord would go, you can get one of these things to splice in to be able to reach the controller. So there's things like that. Oh, Mr. DKH, good night. Hey, Tomothy, thanks for coming by. Good night. So yeah, there is that. I'm getting Orfex, and I have to follow up and find out about the shipping. I don't know whether they've shipped yet. But once we
Yeah,
get the actual lights, we'll be able to work and figure out what to do with the cords.
yeah, I'm still not sure exactly what I'm going to do for lighting. I know I'm going to go all LED. I contemplated doing a little bit of metal halide, but then I went back on that and said no, I'm just going to stick to LED. But what brands and how many, I have no idea yet. Other than the big fish tank, I'll probably light that with reef breeders
Mm-hmm.
because they're bright and they're fairly inexpensive and they can light up a big tank without having very many of them.
Yeah. Yeah, Sharbuckle is saying G5 all the way. I guess that's the Radeon, the Gen 5.
Yeah, those do look nice, and I'm still kind of I've already got a bunch of Radeons. I've been real happy with them, so I know they're going to go onto my frag tank at a minimum.
Yeah.
But yeah, I don't know. I don't know what I'm going to do for the main displays because I still haven't contemplated like full dimensions and
Yeah.
I know the scale that I'm looking at. Is it because I'm not looking to necessarily have coral all the way down to the bottom, like
Mm-hmm.
highlight stuff. So
Yeah.
to me, it's a matter of making sure that the right areas have enough light. And honestly, after seeing some of the tanks, especially the way places like Worldwide Corals have done it, like I've seen that one big lagoon tank they have where they got the
Mm-hmm.
lights all the way up on the ceiling.
Mm-hmm.
So is it as much about the par? I mean, I know they're real big into the water flow over there being one of their
Mm-hmm.
bigger things they look at. And that's one thing I want to concentrate on more is water flow.
Yeah, me too. Yep, it's going to be an interesting problem to solve to push the water 5 feet from the back of the tank. Well, 5.5 feet. Where I know that there are pumps that will do that quite easily, but my thing has always been targeted flow because I have a lot of these large, as I said, the solitary SPS or LPS rather, they can't handle a lot of flow. So you have to put them somewhere where they get the turbulent flow without it being a lot of churn. Like it just has to be gentle.
Yeah,
And I was really successful with that in the Red Sea tank. But it took 8 power heads to do it in all different places on different types of timers and different types of controllers, but it worked. So if I can do something similar in this tank without having 27 electrical plugs, that would be really good. So,
I was very happy with the way the Gree or gyre style pumps work. Just because like my LPS section, I kept those underneath those pumps
mhm,
and
mhm,
they got a good amount of water flow, but it wasn't beating them to death.
yeah,
And then
yeah,
same on the other side of the tank, it was definitely more turbulent and flow. But yeah, I have that same thing, but I'm gonna do similar to what I did last time. Is I'm gonna section the tank into different flow zones, so there'll be a low to moderate flow area
mhm,
for the LPS, and then as I work towards the other side of the tank, the flow is going to become more and more intense
yeah, yeah.
until I get into like Crazyville. Like I see reef keepers on here, and he's talking about his pant array that he's got on his setup, which I hope he's listening. I want to see some pictures of the innards of that thing. I always see those pant array pumps, but they got that big cage on them. You don't get to see them without the cage on them to see how the thing comes apart.
Mhm.
So,
Yeah. I'm
uh,
trying to think of a way even to do things like bubble scrubbing when I have an external return pump. And it had always been the way I did it in the Red Sea was I tucked the air stone underneath the cage that was on the front of the J-bow, and then it just drew it right up. So I'm contemplating mounting some power heads half out of the water, or maybe a third out of the water, and having them on a timer that just comes on, for 2-3 hours at night, so that it draws air in and pushes all the bubbles out. But the only drawback to that is I won't be able to use fresh outside air like I did in the other setup. It would just be room air. So I don't know. It's still another thing I have to figure out.
Well, same thing though that we talked about earlier is with your house exchanging more air and being designed to do that. How does that affect? Because like I'll be real interested to see how that impacts pH in my system.
Yeah, see, because CO2 levels should theoretically not build up if you're
Yeah,
drawing in fresh air, right?
I've got some alternative means that I might try to employ if I feel I need to raise my pH, because I'm not going to do CO2 scrubbing media. That's just not an option. Uh, I might do an outside air draw, but I'm actually thinking about trying to naturally pull the CO2 out with plants. So
Yeah, that's definitely an option. The guys are talking. Oh, geez, the conversation moved on. There, yeah, Phil wants to see pictures, and or you said you want to see pictures, and he said they're going to be on Instagram. Sharbuckle, how often do you bubble scrub? I have not done it in the current holding tank because until I thought the other day about putting a power head half out of the water and putting it on a timer, um, I couldn't figure out a way to do it with canister filters, right? But I used to do it every night between midnight and 3 a.m. And I swear that's another thing that really helped stabilize the pH because I used outside air. And of course, at night, you're in another part of the house with the room with the door closed, and all there is animals roaming around. So CO2 levels would not be a factor at night. But no, I really think it's beneficial. And I do notice there's a lot of places in the tank now where when I use the turkey baster just to blow around the rocks and everything, I actually do sometimes see a little bit of detritus come off the corals, which I never used to see in the other tank at all. So it's something I need to do, especially with the plating corals like the Montes and things like that I have in here. And that thing here, the turbinaria, there's so many folds and swirls in that thing now. It does collect detritus, and the bubble scrubbing really helped keep that stuff clean. Got a question here. Do you think a Hydra 32? Hey, Digging with Cruzy. I don't think we've seen you here before. Welcome. 32 HD would be good for 75. I'm thinking about buying this light. Hydra 32. That's the AI light, right? Aqua illumination.
yeah, the 32 is the small one, I think. Let me look.
Yeah, I thought the 16 was the single, and then the 32 is the double, right?
Yeah, that's the 2 pucks. So that's kind of their smaller one. So depending on the corals you wanted to keep and how much, like where you want the par at, you'd probably have to have at least a couple of them.
Yeah, because the 75 is usually a 3-foot tank, right?
Could be 3 or 4 depending on what the dimensions are. So you probably could do a couple of those, and it'd probably work out well for you.
Well, I'm putting 2 Orphic Atlantic V4s. No, Orphec, yes, Orphec Atlantic V4 Gen 2. I don't know why they don't just give them a different name. But anyway, apparently I can put those things 15 inches off the water and completely cover my entire 60 by 66 foot tank with two of them. I'm also adding the bar lights around the perimeter. Got that idea from Chase, and so I think we'll be good for lighting. But that's just with two of them. The dimensions are 9 by 24 inches of the fixtures. 9 by 24, yeah. So that's pretty good. And that's the advice I got from Tommy at Orphec, was that was the correct amount of lights. I thought I would need 6. So to only need 2 is, or not even 4, but 2 is good.
Well, let's see. How big are those 4s? Those are pretty bigger. They're a little bit bigger array, aren't they?
Yes, they are. They are a full array. I like my AP 700. The Kessel is just the pucks, right? Because that's, I mean, it's like arrays started out in the Chinese black boxes, right, or in the Mars Aquas and things like that. Then they sort of went out of favor when the puck style started coming out with the Radions and all of that, and the Kessels. Now they're reverting back to these arrays because the blending is better. When you have the distribution of all of these diodes, the color blending is so much better. So I don't know. We'll see. I like what I've seen so far. So
39 by 27 is what the area that they say is a max spread recommended.
Yeah, and I have the bar lights going down the sides, which will give me 10 inches or so of spread by 48. So I think I feel pretty good about
oh wait, you don't
all that money.
You're not getting the compact ones though, are you?
No, it's the V4 Gen 2. Yeah, Sharbuckle said he did bubble scrubbing once and his corals were pissed. His pH is pretty solid, yeah.
Ah, okay. So 48 by 35 is what one covers. Yeah, I'm gonna have to see. I'm in one of those, like I kind of want to mix a couple things together.
Yeah.
In terms of different type, like I kind of want to do some bar, like some reef brights potentially too, and then some kind of larger fixtures.
Mm-hmm. The thing about the bar lights that there's things I like and things I don't like. The thing I like about them is that you can get that fill-in lighting along the edge of a tank where, you know, the spread of the lights otherwise really diminishes in the front corners. And if you can fill that in with a bar, it just gives you more options about what you can put on the sand out there. What I don't like is that if any of the rock structure blocks a section of the LEDs, the colors don't blend, so you get bands of turquoise, bands of purple. And I don't hate it, but it's noticeable in the tank. You know, there'll be a whole area, a pool of turquoise, and I'll be looking at it going, is there a coral? Like, is there a mushroom or something down there? And you get up close and you realize it's just the sand is turquoise in that spot because the other adjacent LEDs are blocked by a coral or the rock structure. And that's the one that gets through in that place. That's the only drawback, I think, with the bar lighting. DC bubble scrubs every night from 10:30 p.m. to 6:30 a.m. Wow. Oh, yeah, and Ugly Man's is asking, anyone seen lights by Wyatt Lightworks? They look like Radeon copies, but better build. I haven't heard of that. Ugly Man, you're in Australia, aren't you? Or are you? South Africa, maybe? I don't remember.
Let's see. Singapore. Okay, so that looks like I'm just looking at. Looks like Malaysia and Singapore is where a couple of the partners are for those Wyatt Lightworks.
Oh. Hmm.
So
Yeah, Ugly Man is in Australia. Yeah, so Singapore, that would make sense. So, Alex, what's next for you? What are you going to do tomorrow when you get up?
I am probably gonna continue organizing my garage, and then I'm gonna try and go out and buy the floor paint that I need for my basement there.
Right.
Because it's gonna be a real fun job though, because I get to move all that crap so I can paint the floor.
Yeah. Well, and
I
you have
think
to be you have carpet in that other area, right? So you have to be careful that you don't get any like dirt or anything from the stuff that's been, pulled apart, and yeah, you don't want to damage the carpet.
well, I'm gonna leave it all in the utility room, so I'm just gonna paint half the floor. Or I did the square footage. It's gonna take like 3 cans of the epoxy paint to do it. So I think I'm gonna lay 1 can down in the one area, and then just gonna paint it until it's gone, and then let that dry for the 24 hours it needs, and then move stuff onto it, and then just work my way over. So I think that'll get done this week, but I got to get my garage organization done first.
Yeah.
So,
Is
or at least
and you
keep it up.
said your garage is insulated and everything, so you at least don't have to worry about the cold out
Oh no,
there.
it gets cold in there.
Oh, does
it's,
it?
it's not insulated in there to that extent. So it's not too bad over here though. We haven't even really gotten snow yet, so
Mm-hmm.
it's been pretty nice for that.
Yeah. And
But
do you have to worry about ventilation for that epoxy?
it's supposed to be low VOC and it's water based, so
Oh,
no,
okay. Yeah.
no. So
Yeah.
it was funny before I joined when you guys were mentioning ugly sweater contest. I was thinking, I was like, I could do that, but I don't want to. I don't want to cause any trouble. I could wear a Red Wings sweater. Are you a Leafs fan?
No, but here in Canada, that would be like the Leafs and the Habs, right? That would be wearing a Montreal Canadiens jersey if you're a Leafs fan. Yeah, my husband's a Boston Bruins fan. I mean, but he hasn't been. I know that face, but he hasn't been watching hockey for many, 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 many years. He was a fan of them when Harry Sinden was the coach, and he basically lost a lot of interest when the first expansion happened.
Hmm.
So that tells you, right? So yeah,
So
he
he
does
he probably he
pays
probably hasn't been
attention.
watching the Las Vegas Golden Knights then.
Yeah, I don't even know. Couldn't even tell you. Yeah. And he's also a New England Patriots fan. So I don't know what it is about New England and Boston and all that, but yeah.
Yeah, I just watch hockey, and then uh,
Yeah.
I see reef keepers. I've never done the bubble scrubbing thing myself, so that's just me.
Yeah. Well, when I
I
first set it up, I was blown away by the amount of cyano it was pulling out of my tank. And it wasn't visible to the naked eye, but it was there. And you could see it in the slime that was in the filter cups every night, and big blobs of it. So while you're running it, if you shine a flashlight in the tank, you can see long strings coming off the corals and detaching and then being carried away by the bubbles. It's pretty, it does do stuff. It isn't just bubbles that go around in the water. It has an impact on the coral. So I guess it depends. Maybe when you have a lot of flow, you don't need it so much. But if your flow isn't quite enough to keep the coral tissue clean, and you don't have the right types of scavenging microfauna, maybe it helps. Maybe it's new systems that it helps, but more mature systems don't need it because they do have that balance of scavenging microfauna. I don't know, but I really liked what it did in the Red Sea tank. I want to do it again.
was gonna say, I mean, it's one of those things in this hobby of, is it? I've seen that discussion come up where it's like good versus bad, and it's like, well, is the tank doing well in the eyes of the person keeping it? Well, yeah. Are they doing the bubble scrubbing? Yeah. Well, I guess it works for them.
Well, there's so many
So
things in this hobby that work for some and not for others. That's the way it is. And the only way to find out is to try it, right?
yeah, it's. I mean, the closest I came to that is when I used to do water changes, and my return pump would start sucking air because
Yeah.
I had it running before everything. There was enough water for it to sustain. But I'd sit there and I'd let it cavitate a bit and blow all kinds of bubbles into the reef every now and then. I'd be like, it picked up a bunch of stuff that got skimmed off the water. If it loosens up detritus or, you
Yeah.
know, triggers the corals to do a slime, do some sliming.
Yeah.
Hey, if they're not dying, I can't see how it's necessarily doing any kind of harm.
Well, and
So,
there's always the discussion about sections of reefs that are at low tide or out of the water at low tide. They
mm-hmm.
slime up, the tide comes in, washes it all off, and it's a cycle that I don't know whether I have no idea whether there's research into whether it enhances growth or whether it's such a natural part of the cycle that you can't really tell unless you do a lot of experiments by taking it away, whether you know what I mean? Like in different parts of the world, it's going to be different. And the same coral in a different part of the reef, it's going to be different. So, um, I guess it's one of those things. I really did it to try and help with pH. And because that was just one of the many things I was doing because pH was always low in that system. And the side effect was all this cyano that was being pulled from somewhere. So where was it? Was it on the coral? Was it on the rocks? Sand? No idea. I just know that I was finding it. So yeah, it's crazy. Oh, good night, Derek. Thanks for coming by. He's going to see Christmas lights. Yeah.
Yeah, night, Derek. Yeah, it's definitely there's so many different things that work for different people. Just like I have my 80-watt UV sterilizer now, and I'm thinking I'm gonna add another 150-watt onto the system.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, and
I
then
think,
the question always comes up, should I run the UV 24/7? Yes.
yeah, it does nothing but help your pH, and then
Yeah.
it's got good, again, I don't look at it as much of a pathogen control or algae control as I do just neutralizing other toxins in the
Mhm.
water potentially.
Yeah.
So
And the thing is that depending on where you set it up has a big effect on the amount of the water that goes through it. And if I remember when I was looking into it and getting advice that the best place to put it is on a return line, because then you know that all of the water that goes through the system is going through the UV. But the problem with that is, unless you have a big enough one, the flow is too fast for it to be effective. So, it's 6 of one, half dozen of the other. So if you can put it somewhere that you're reasonably sure as much water as possible is getting through it at a proper rate to have an effect, then that's your best setup. And then you just go from there. I mean, I would never use it for pest control. I would never use it expecting it to do any miracle sort of curing of ick or anything like that. But when I used it, the water was always clear and always beautiful. So you know what? Right there is a good reason to have it. And as a side effect, I never had problem with pests in the tank. Even adding new fish, they'd been through quarantine, but you still never know. It's still a crapshoot. So, oh, here's Johnny with a question. I am 40 gallon. Can I add an air stone into the area with your turn pump? Yeah, you could do that. You could. The hardest thing with adding the air stone is keeping it down there, like keeping it under the pump or near the pump. So if you could get an air line with a suction cup or something where you can put it against the side that, like the central chamber goes down and then it flares out. Can't see my hands. Goes down and then it flares out like this to the bottom. And if you could get it down there somewhere, you stand the best chance of being able to pull bubbles. Because the thing is, it's not just that there are bubbles. They have to be really fine bubbles. It has to look like a fog. And you shouldn't be able to see large bubbles in that stream. It should be really, really micro fine bubbles. And the best air stones for that are the ones made of lime wood. Even the wooden air stones that get used in like reptile tanks and things like that, for misting and all of that, because they put out really, really fine bubbles. And I've used both types, and the ceramic ones that don't look like they have any holes in them, but they do. Those things get clogged up really fast. They put super fine bubbles out, but not for very long. And they're hard to clean. You have to use citric acid and scrub them really well. And then you're cleaning them again in another 2 or 3 weeks. So the best results I had were with lime wood air stones. They worked really well for me. So I don't know if that helps, but oh, there's DC. I use bubble scrubbing as more so a cleaner. It helps for nanos because there's no room for a skimmer. Yeah, that's DC. That's probably a really good way to describe it. Is acting as a generator of foam. There's a question there for you, Alex.
Yeah, I'm looking at that trigger right now.
And thickness greenia. I've never heard of that.
Oh, I want to say I've seen one before, but
I'll see if I can get a picture. Put it up there.
I don't think I know anyone that's kept one of those before. I want to say I've seen one once, but maybe not, because that bright orange tail on there. It kind of looks like one that might be a little bit more reef safe.
I'll see if I can show you guys what that looks like. Okay, like this. Yeah, he does have sort of the face, and I can't really see the mouth all that closely.
I'm reading the Reef Builders article on them. There's another trigger that looks similar to them. That's the one I'm thinking of. I can't think of the name of it though.
Phil says, just get a blue throat, way cheaper. Oh, you're welcome, Johnny. And DC's advice about
Clarion
getting
Angels.
a Wi-Fi timer is good advice. That's what I used to use on mine, but eventually they all quit because I think I had too many of them in the same space. Hmm. Interesting. Yeah, so lots of stuff coming up. So I know with Christmas this year, family stuff is going to be way different than it ever has been. What are you guys doing?
I'm going to cook a smaller Christmas dinner. I usually cook a beef Wellington, and I'll make that though, and I'm gonna make it small sized. And then my sister, she's a nurse in the city of Chicago, or well, north of the city of Chicago. We won't be able to see her for Christmas, but I think I'm gonna drop her off Christmas dinner uncooked with just a toss it in the oven type of thing, and she's gonna like leave us a bag of cookies at a distance. So, but we'll see.
Yep. Phil says clown trigger is one of my all-time favorites. Never had a tank to keep one in. Yeah.
I love my clown trigger. I miss that guy. Had a good personality, although they can. I saw that in the blue line trigger I had. That one I was watching more because I was like, that one might become a problem that can't stay in the tank.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Yeah, those little babies don't last that long with the clown triggers. They get big quick.
Yeah, it's the whole thing with fish is that growth cycle. It's really hard to believe how fast they grow. And it's being optimistic and thinking, oh yeah, I can get that fish and I'll upgrade my tank in a year and move it over, and either one of two things happens: the fish is either way outgrown your tank before you think it will, or the upgrade is delayed for some reason. Yeah.
That's what I was thinking of as a sargassum trigger.
Yeah, the local fish store had one of those a little while back. Sargassum.
Yeah, it's not that Zaya Canthus greeny though.
Yeah, the sargassum has more of a pinkish orange tail, doesn't it? It's quite pink. I saw those at the shed in Chicago, and they're big. They're really big.
I'll tell you the really beautiful one. I've seen a couple adult queen triggers are beautiful.
Yeah.
They could change their color on a fly too. Like they can really swap it out. The only problem is, I mean, they have a set of teeth like humans when you look at them when they're big, and they could probably take a finger off like it was nothing. So
yeah.
I do have a fish I want to get for my new fish only system that I couldn't do before. I'm gonna get some look downs.
Those things, the look down jacks, those ones. How many will
Hmm.
you get? How many do you think you can fit in there?
I
Like, what
don't
are
know
your
because I found that there's a place out of Florida, I think, that's breeding them now.
Oh, really? And they're not solitary fish, though, are they?
No, they like to shoal together, and they like open sandy bottoms.
Mm-hmm.
Uh, but I should be able to accommodate them pretty well. But that's
Mm-hmm.
one of the fish that I'd really like to get a few of those if I could.
Yeah, they are really, really cool. Yeah. I wouldn't mind getting a shoaling cardinal fish that I could get a group of about 20 so that they could. And the way my aquascape is planned, there is going to be lots of open swimming space. And part of that is because I would like to get fish that can shoal and move in that, in those patterns that they take. I don't know if 5 by 5.5 feet is enough space for them to even do that, but I wondered if I got small enough ones, because I know there are some really small cardinal fish that will swim that way. But without
I
doing more research, I don't even know where to get them.
I had the long spine cardinals with the blue eye that are kind of clear.
Yeah.
And well, the dozen I started with got whittled down to like one eventually. Um,
Mm-hmm.
they never they just hung in one area of the tank and never really left it.
Mm-hmm.
But I had this other blue eye cardinal that had more like red stripes on it. And I've seen those in tanks before where they have a group and they'll stick together in a tight shoal.
Right.
But I mean, I, kind of where you're at because you said it's about 5 feet by 5 feet.
Yeah.
You're probably getting into the realm where you might see that behavior more. Um,
Yeah, and especially if I don't have rock walls that, prevent them from, because I think what happens with what I've seen, I can stand at an aquarium and just watch, just stand in one place really still and just watch what the fish do for like an hour and a half, no problem. And what I've observed is that, and this may not be true, it might just be because of them being in captivity, but they don't pick up speed until all of them are together, and they start out just kind of meandering around, and then all of a sudden they start moving faster, and then they really move fast. So it's not a matter of them kind of getting together and going. It's they mill around a little bit, and then it's almost as if one of them gives a signal, and then they kind of go a certain way, and then they take off. So I think you do need a lot of space for that. And you can't have spaces that are blocked. They need a path to do that, or
yeah.
they need water to do that. And they need to have cover so that they can hide if they need to disperse. And it's such a specific thing that's not really that easy to have in a reef tank, because once it starts filling in with coral and all that kind of thing, it that again interrupts any path that they might want to take. And I don't know, do they ride the currents? Will they travel with the water that's flowing from a powerhead? And if so, how do they get up their speed? Because they're not going to start at the powerhead. They're going to join that flow from somewhere. So, like, I don't know. I'm not explaining it very well, but I think you have to look at how, like, the patterns that they move in, and try and accommodate that somehow if you want to see that behavior.
Well, I think it's a comfort zone, a comfort thing too, is in the space they're in, do they get outside of what their zone of comfort is to where they need to be in a shoal for protection?
Sure.
Because
Yeah.
I've
Yeah.
I've been snorkeling enough times now to where I've encountered shoals of fish like tangs, or butterfly fish, and like some of them will be in very vastly different groups. Like I've gotten into groups of butterfly fish where they're all paired out, but they're kind of in a loose group, like every 4 or 5 feet apart.
Yeah.
Whereas I've seen tangs that are in like a 10-foot or so ball, and there's a few stragglers on the outside away from the main shoal.
Yeah.
So,
And those are
but
big fish for the most part,
yeah,
right? Well, butterfly's not huge, but still, yeah.
I saw a reef keeper was asking about a powder blue and an Achilles in the tank together, and I'm looking at his tank. I'm looking at the tank, and
Well, it's 8 feet, right?
it
96,
is,
I remember.
but
Yeah.
powder powder blues aren't very nice, and Achilles can have their moments too. That's one of those things where I'd almost say that what you'd have to do is you'd have to add a powder blue, an Achilles, and like 3 other tangs all at the same time. And that way they're all going into the box at the same time. They're on fairly equal footing.
Yeah.
But there's no guarantees. That's the only problem with tang. There are really never any guarantees.
Yeah, and you said it before, and it's so true. A lot comes down to the personality of the individual fish, too.
Yeah, just don't tell me you want to throw a Soho in there too. That
That was going to be a fish I was going to keep, but then I started reading more about them and people's actual experiences keeping them, and they're just too aggressive and nasty. So, and they get too big. I mean, I think I can accommodate something that gets up to 12 inches, maybe. I think 14 would be pushing it. And most of those larger, that's the size they get. So,
yeah.
yeah, I'd love a blonde nasotang, but 16 inches, I don't think it's fair to put a fish that could. I know they
I
will probably never get that big in captivity, but still, you just,
I was contemplating a Soho to cap off my 720-gallon tank. Once a few other things got big, clown tanks too.
mhm.
They're both. I've seen it like those. That's the challenge of like tanks, angels too. Is
Mhm.
always the order you add them and
Yeah.
how many you add at once. Because sometimes it goes really well and sometimes it doesn't. Uh,
Diacanthus says sohals and clowns are a big no-no. Yeah, I would say, especially if you get a Clarkie or a maroon. Yeah. Phil, appreciate the info. Tangang going in last. No sohal. A tang I really like, and they have tons of personality. They're like puppy dogs, is of Lamingi. And that is the tang I will not keep because it can be 2 feet long. And,
yeah, I had one in my 720 and uh, they are a cool fish.
yeah, they come right
They're
to the
really
glass and look. They look at you. They come right up to the glass and look at you. You can see their eyes moving. Yeah. So
Yeah,
cool.
I'll see in the next tank. I could probably accommodate somebody like that a little better than the 720. Um, but yeah, it's just a lot of that for me is going to come down to the order in which they go in.
Well,
Because
and then
I'd
you
love,
run into issues if you get a jerk and you have to get it out, but you want to replace it maybe with not a jerk, then you're introducing a loner into a group. So, you know,
single clown. Jeez.
It's hilarious.
Yeah, I can imagine that with a clown because those things. I had a maintenance tank that we had to physically catch the tomato clown out of it because it would start drawing blood after the first couple of hits that it took on you.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Yeah,
sometimes you gotta just.
I don't think I want fish that, if they take a dislike to me, are gonna gun for me and bite me. I'd much rather have them keep a respectful distance. So we'll see what happens. We will see what happens. And I like small fish. So do I get a dozen barnacle blennies and set them up with a condo down one back corner of the tank? I don't know. How long would they live if I end up with some larger triggerfish? They're pretty
Yeah,
fast.
I'm definitely gonna get another group. I'm gonna do a large group of Royal Grammas again, and I'm gonna do another group of purple pseudochromis again.
Hmm. So you find the purple pseudochromis are okay as far as aggression?
Hold on one second.
Oh,
Sorry.
no, it's okay. It is getting late. It is getting late.
So, uh, so the purple pseudochromis you were asking on the aggression with them.
Yeah.
Hold on one second. Sorry about that.
It's okay.
So yeah, the purple pseudochromis. I had 5 of them I started with, and I was down to 3 when I broke down the 720.
Hmm.
And they were breeding on a regular basis, so I had at least one male female pair. So they did spread out into about roughly thirds of the tank.
Hmm.
And then when the pair was breeding, they would seem to take turns watching the eggs.
Oh,
So, but yeah, they have a pretty interesting group dynamic though. So, clown harem, magnificent fence with titanium wiring. Baiting a clown harem. I've never tried a clown harem before. I don't know how I always like skunk clowns. Those would
hmm.
be ones I'd like to do a harem with, maybe.
Well, Sonny and Cher were Darwins, and they were gentle little souls. Although I will say that Cher took a run at me several times when I used to put algae clips in. Um, and I'm pretty sure it was usually when she was about to spawn or they had eggs. So I ended up having, and she would chase everyone away. So I had to put 2 algae clips in so that she could, like, and for a while she went back and forth, and then she finally gave up because nobody could get near the algae clips because she would chase them off. But that was probably, I had those fish for 5 years. So that was probably about 4 years in before she started that behavior. And she did bite me once or twice, but it was more of a bump than an actual, like her mouth wasn't on. She would like run into my hand more than anything. I got you.
And
Yeah.
I'm seeing the Magnifica fenced off with titanium wiring. That one's pretty funny.
I wonder if it would slice itself up trying to get through.
You know, with those, because I'm always thinking of the other Magnifica carpets and not the other Heteractis. If it's a Heteractis Magnifica, those things, in my experience, while they do walk around quite a bit, if they are put an ultra high light and ultra high flow on like a rock island, they're likely going to plant themselves up really high and just stay there. But
yeah, that did cross my mind. Putting a single anemone. The way I want my aquascape set up is like an amphitheater with a cave at the back and making a courtyard, and then my coral branches in the middle. And I had considered putting a rock in there that would be suitable for an anemone to attach itself and getting 5 or 6 tiny clowns just to live there. But and I considered a Magnifica or maybe a Ritterei, like just, I don't know that the Rittereis get quite as big as the Magnificas, and I don't think they're quite as sticky.
they can. I
The
don't.
Magnificas are like real sticky.
Well, it depends on, because that's the thing. It's which, because Ritter Eyes and the other ones that are Magnificas. Is it the carpet with the little longer tentacles you're thinking of, or
Yeah.
is it the real long tentacle?
Oh no, it's the real long
Ritter
tentacle.
Eye. Yeah, those walk around. Those could walk around quite a bit. They like to get an ultra high flow and high light. And
Yeah.
they'll seek out. I've seen them in tanks before. They'll seek out the highest point they can get.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, those can get like 2-3 feet. I think that the Long Island aquarium in that 20,000 gallon reef, they give them that they split in that tank. There's one video that's from a few years ago where they were talking. They split in that tank and roam around.
Wow. Okay, maybe not.
Bubble. Hey, you can't go wrong. A rock island with some bubble tips is always a good route to go.
Yeah, and beautiful. And people always love them. So maybe that's the answer, right near the front so they can easily be seen. Yeah, I don't know.
I'd love to try like a Magnifica or well, I should say like a Ritterei or a Sabay or something, but I have to engineer that into my aquascape a bit to make something big enough to give them space.
Mm-hmm.
Because my only concern, like anything, is I'd really hate to see somebody go swimming into the thing and get eaten.
Yeah.
So I've seen some people that they play the gambling game with carpet anemones and big fish, and even in 200-300s, like they'll get like a gigantea, and then someone's like, "Oh yeah, my 9-inch tang ran into it," and they're gone.
Yeah. Well, because they're so sticky.
Yeah.
I mean, sticky in the sense that the stinging happens over a large area really fast,
Very,
and the fish is done.
very powerful nematostats on them.
Yeah.
So.
Oh boy, who knows? Yeah, I don't know a super lot about anemones because I've never really, after the original research I did about them when I got the very, very first tank and finding out that they wandered and not wanting to have to worry about them getting in power heads and all of that, I sort of got away from the idea of ever getting one because it's concerning and it's nothing you can control. And in order to learn how to control them, you have to put in the years of experience, and the years of experience cost you a lot of fish, and so I never really followed up much on it. But I do like the long tentacle ones, and the carpet ones come in beautiful colors. But I don't know. Do you want a 60 cube, like a 60-gallon cube, maybe, with a single carpet in it and some clownfish? I don't know.
Yeah, that'd be my only thing with the getting into carpets, and they have some stunning colors on them. But that could be they can eat some expensive meals.
Yeah.
In your tank if you're not careful, and that would be my thing. Where that might be something where I go, maybe I dedicate like an auxiliary tank to that.
Yeah.
But I would probably gamble more with something like a Sabay or a Red or Eye, or just keep doing bubble tips. But bubble tips, I know they always will stick on rock islands. They won't cross sand unless they completely detach, which is,
Hmm.
in my experience, fairly rare.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, I remember you saying that once before that, if you can get them on an island and they can get a good, nice crevice for their foot, they'll stay there as long as they get enough light. Yeah. Diacanthus says bubble tip anemones are just big aptasia. They split on.
in big tanks, they can be. That that
Well,
that then again, if you have the right bubble tip anemone, those can be some pretty expensive aptasia you're growing.
yeah. And who was it that said if you have anemones in your tank, you may as well ultimately, eventually resign yourself to having an anemone tank? If they're happy and they split a lot and they move around, they'll just eliminate everything else, and pretty soon you'll just have anemones. So somebody was talking about that a while back.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I've never quite got that good with them. Although I have figured out, you know, you make them happy, and sometimes like the bubble tips, they'll stay in place for me at least. They wouldn't move a lot, so that always made me happy.
Hmm.
Uh, but yeah,
Yeah. Oh well. I don't know. I don't know if I want to take that chance yet. I Part of me does, just to see if it would work to have a rock with some beautiful bright colored anemones and a bunch of little tiny clowns. As long as they stayed little tiny, I mean, eventually they wouldn't be tiny. I don't know.
yeah. No, it's something I might even think about doing that more in like the big fish tank, where if I can establish a big anemone on a
Hmm.
rock with clowns, and then move it into that tank where the anemone's got protection
Hmm.
from clown with the clownfish, and you know it doesn't matter. There's no other corals to really mess with. It wouldn't bother me then. So,
Yeah. Yeah.
but
DC, 200-gallon SBS display and 25-gallon Lagoon Nem tank, same system. No NEMs in the main display. Give them their own space. Yeah, yeah. It's so hilarious how in this hobby there's so many things we want to keep, and it takes a while to understand. Certain things just are never will never be compatible with each other. So depending on what you want to keep and where you are in your experience curve, that's where I think MTS starts to happen. Because like DC said, you give it you want anemones so they get their own tank, and it takes you a while to learn that that's the way you're going to keep anemones. And like you did with your last setup, you want a mantis shrimp, it needs its own tank. And your fish only, and your reef tanks separate. It's a great way to keep what you want to keep, but it requires multiple tanks. And then
yeah,
you take that one level further and you get into the big multiple tanks. It's like, wow.
I'm not a good example to follow if you don't want to have simple setups and not have multi-tank syndrome.
Yeah. Well, this is the thing with the system that I'm going to set up. I've learned from having this holding tank that I could probably be super happy to take the large solitary corals I have, put them in places where they can develop their full size, be happy, get some more LPS, and then start growing acropora, on the rocks in the proper light, and only just add acropora periodically, because even some of the colonies of stuff that I've grown, and I know nothing about growing SPS. I've learned a few things, but I'm by no means consider myself good enough yet to get some of the more difficult tenuous and things like that, or the smooth skins or the deep water acros, not yet. But I can imagine myself being completely happy taking all the corals out of my 2 tanks and putting them in the new system and just letting them develop into whatever they're going to develop. Then that would work as long as I don't ever go to a coral show.
Yeah, I'm gonna. It'll be fun to get further down the road because, like I said, I'm gonna start growing out what I have.
Yeah.
And then, yeah, it's gonna be that holding back at coral shows. I'm sure I'm gonna get a few things.
Yeah.
But I'm not gonna try it because I don't have any acros right now. I'm gonna have to get a couple more, and once I get the frag tank up and running and section that off and flow and just kind of get some bread and butter things going that aren't expensive, just to make sure everything's going right, and then
Yeah.
have
Yeah.
some stock to put in the big displays when they're actually built.
Right. Yeah. And the thing is that as long as it's experience. It's all experience. As far as I'm concerned, every time you get a coral and try and figure out what to do with it, it becomes experience. Sometimes they do really well, other times they don't. Today, in fact, my RG carpet bomb, which had no name, so I named it. It was the leading edge of encrusting was a brilliant emerald green, and that faded into like a golden ochre mustard color for the branches. And it had sort of a lavender polyps on it. It was doing amazing, and the color on it was so different because of the yellow, the color yellow and the green. And I thought it was a goner, but today I noticed there are a couple of nubs on the skeleton that are a light color. And when I was looking at it with the UV flashlight, I don't know whether what I was seeing was just the texture of the corallites that have died, or whether I was actually seeing color coming back in it. So just seeing those 2 or 3 light nubs near the front, they just caught my eye today, and I went, wait a minute, it was not like that 3 days ago. So maybe the urchin ate all the algae or the biofilm off of it. I don't know, but stuff like that happens, and you think, wow, like this stuff's resilient. If it does come back after the ammo lock incident, which is what killed most of the ones that died. So that's the exciting part, is to find out whether you can do that. Taryn says that's why she's getting another tank. Yeah.
Well, my battery is about to die here, so
Yeah, always running that battery down on a Saturday night. And oh my
I
goodness, it's
know.
almost
Hopefully,
midnight,
I'll have a new phone next year. Hopefully, so. But
Yeah.
it's great being on, and we'll see if I get a chance. If you're on next week, I might pop in.
Yeah, and don't forget your ugly sweater. So now I have a mission this week. I have to. Yeah. Well, that's right. You just moved. I know how that feels. Yeah, I have sweaters out the yin yang, but they're sweaters that I would have made myself, or I don't know. I might be able to find something. I'll have to see what I can find, just specially for next week. All right. Well, thank you, Alex, as usual. Always interesting
Thank you
talking
for having
to
me.
you. And by next week, things will have changed again.
Hopefully. All
Awesome.
right. Have a good night, and I'll see you next time.
Yeah. Good night, Alex.
Okay. Bye.
Bye. Okay, everybody. I think we're done for the night. I'm starting to feel like it's hard to talk because I'm tired. And it's been really great having you all here. I enjoy this a lot. It's I look forward to every Saturday night. I always get nervous, but then as soon as I start talking to people and people join in, it just goes right away. And I really do enjoy it, and I appreciate the time you guys spend here. And yeah, so we will see you next week. And please think about having an ugly sweater. And if you wear an ugly sweater and you do want to come in, you can just sit in the dark and shine a light on your sweater if you don't want to be on a camera, or maybe send me pictures of you in your ugly sweater because I can put pictures up here. So in any case, we will see you all next week, I hope. And take care of yourselves. Stay safe. We got a lot to deal with. Things are changing fast, and hopefully everyone will stay well. So thank you again for joining in, and good night.